In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, I bear witness there is no God but Allah, and Muhammad is his messenger. Welcome to another edition of Jock Brothers Presents Let Us Make Man. I am your host, moderator, Brother Jackie Muhammad, and we have an exciting show for you tonight, a very serious show dealing with disaster readiness. We asking you to tune in because, as you can see, the world is changing every day. Everything is happening, and we must be ready. In the nation, we say all general orders are in effect. So before we get to our special guest, let me introduce my co-host, some dynamic brothers, the dynamic duo, Batman and Robin, the Wonder Twins, Mork and Mindy. No, it's not them. These are some great brothers. These are Jock brothers. Unmute yourself, Jock brothers. Let us bring up our brother Ahmed. Introduce yourself, sir.
Thank you, Brother Jackie. I don't know about the Mork and Mindy, but Nanu.
Come on now.
Yes. My name is Brother Ahmed. I thank you all for taking time out of your busy schedules to join us on this inspirational, motivational, educational, power-packed show, disaster preparedness,
right.
Disaster readiness. Let's get ready for the shock of the hour. Let's get our kits ready. Let's get our homes prepared. Let's get our families prepared. Today is the show, Jock Brothers, 7 o'clock. Back to you, Jackie.
Ooh, but my brother fired up over there. Okay. But what we did not mention is our brother Ahmed is a newly renowned author. Oh man, he's an author. So let us he along with him being a Renaissance man, a philanthropist, he's now an author. So let us bring up our next co-host, a brother you already know, a brother we know and love, Atlanta born, Brother Kawi. Let's go, soldier.
Assalamu alaikum, family. I hate to come behind Ahmed after that, brother. I can't match that energy, soldier. I'm just gonna do what I do though. Thank y'all for tuning in again to another episode of the Jock Brothers Presents Let Us Make Man. The sign of the times calls for a show like this. And we got a sister on our show today that, this is what she have dedicated herself to over the last few years. Disaster preparedness, disaster readiness on all levels, not just having some items, but all levels. And I'm happy to have the sister on the show. She gonna bring a wealth of knowledge. So please share the show, because day and time is gonna come when you're gonna wish you watched your Jock Brothers tonight. Gonna come a time when you wish you would have listened to the voice of our sister, Tequila Muhammad. And again, I thank everybody for tuning in to support the Jock Brothers Presents Let Us Make Man. For those that have been with us from the beginning, we thank you so much for supporting us through almost 2 years now. July is 2 years now, going strong with this podcast. And for those that has ever donated to the Jock Brothers platform, words just cannot express how much we appreciate that from you. Now, we have a prison initiative. We launched about 7, maybe 8 months ago. That's steadily and constantly growing. We are putting the baddest and boldest newspaper behind the bars to our brothers that absolutely is craving the teachings of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, as demonstrated by the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. We're putting that final call newspaper behind bars all over, anywhere. So if you know of somebody that is behind bars that would like to receive a subscription to the final call newspaper, please email their information, their name, their inmate number, their address to Jock Brothers Viewers at gmail.com. Let me say it again, Jock Brothers Viewers at gmail.com. But this don't work also without donations from you. So let me run down the price list. To send the subscription of the final calls behind bars to one of our beloved brothers for 3 months is $18. For 3 months, they get it each and every week. Then for 6 months, it's $30, and for the year, it's $60. Please jump on that initiative. Our family need us. We have an opportunity to give. It's nothing but blessings in doing that, and we ask you to support that initiative. Again, you can support by cash apping the Jock Brothers. Our cash app information is $Jock Bros, $JAKQBROS. Again, please subscribe. Go to Jock Brothers on YouTube, subscribe, share, hit the bell so you can be alerted to our up and coming events and shows. Thank you. Thank you, dear brother Jackie.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right. So we have heard from our co-hosts, and now we want to introduce our sister, our beloved guest, who is no stranger to the Jock Brothers podcast. She is a regular contributor. We consider her. Definitely, she brings us very good information. Her name is Sister Tequila Muhammad. Sister Tequila is certified. CERT meaning Community Emergency Response Team. Certified, and also holds certifications in early childhood education and business management. The hyper creative writer, entrepreneur, and author of blogs is best described as someone passionate about making a change in the world. In the world, Craig, in the world. Moreover, she's a key contributor to community services as she inspires and uplifts the people through her speaking on different topics that concern the community. Also, Sister Tequila is a disaster preparedness advocate for Tennessee, Atlanta, and its surrounding areas. She has 2 of her articles published in Virtual Magazine and a flyer in Rise Magazine. During her free time, she enjoys reading, writing, spending quality time with her 6 children. She just had a wonderful, beautiful daughter. And also, she recently self-published her first children's book, Disaster Readiness for Children, When Surviving Isn't a Choice. So a beautiful, beautiful copy of the book. Brother Ahmed just showed us a beautiful copy. So Sister Tequila Muhammad would also hold a pen and a piece of paper, writing everything she could think of since she was a child. Little did she know that she has begun her journey into becoming a renowned author and content creator. And since then, she has decided not to turn back. So, Jock Nation, let us welcome with a round of applause, Sister Tequila Muhammad. Assalamu alaikum, my sister.
Walaikum salam. Walaikum salam. Beautiful, beautiful.
Yes, ma'am. Happy to have you. Happy to have you. Disaster readiness. Disaster readiness. What is disaster?
Yes.
What is it?
First of all, I want to say thank you all for allowing me the opportunity to be on the show today. I missed everyone, of course, being on the show.
Yes.
I want to start out again in the name of Allah, the blessed, the most merciful. I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, and I bear witness that Muhammad is his messenger. I greet you all again in the greeting words of peace and paradise. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
Thank you. All right, disaster preparedness, disaster readiness, pretty much. It's just basically what it says, being prepared the best as possible for any disaster. We know we can't prepare for all disasters, but you want to be at least prepared for some of the disasters. So just mind, body, spiritual, mental, and if you can't physically prepared at this time.
What are some examples of a disaster? Maybe someone lives in a hole somewhere and they're not paying attention. So maybe you can tell us what is a disaster, or examples of disaster.
Examples is tornadoes, hurricanes, floods, heavy rain. You can do tsunamis, bugs. Anything can be a disaster. Shootings, killings, this COVID-19 plague, that's a disaster. I mean, disaster comes in many shapes and forms, basically an overabundance of something that we can't control.
Yes, ma'am. So you telling us that we can actually be prepared for these things. It is possible to be prepared for a disaster.
It is definitely possible to be somewhat prepared. Again, you're never going to be able to be prepared for all of anything. If you live in the West Coast or you live up north, you may prepare for snow. but snow may come one day in Florida. It might be a summer day, and then you may get snow, and they're not prepared for that. So you can't prepare for everything, but just having the mindset to know what to do during basic disasters will help you to cover a multitude of other disasters as well.
Okay. Well, one before somebody else have. So is disaster preparedness? Is it only gathering goods? Is there such thing as mental disaster preparedness, spiritual disaster preparedness? Are these some of the things that you consider when you teaching on disaster preparedness?
Yes, sir. Disaster preparedness, again, like Brother Kyle, we said earlier, has many branches. It's not just cut and dry. It's definitely mentally, because again, it doesn't matter how much food you have stored in your home. If mentally you're unable to face what's coming, if you go into a shock, you basically can't prepare yourself at that moment. You can't react at that moment to a disaster. So you have to be mentally prepared for what's going on. Spiritually, you got to know that, God is going to be there for you during that time. If you don't believe in God, then what will get you through that time when things seem incredibly hard during that time? So definitely a spiritual mindset during a disaster. Physically being prepared, meaning martial arts training, boxing, working out, exercising daily to make sure you're physically fit. If something happens, you may have to evacuate, you may have to run, maybe just a mile, and you'd be surprised at how many people can't even run a mile, in the face of terror, literally. So, one of the things you want to do is build up your endurance to see how far you can run. How far you can go without food. A lot of us can't go 2 hours without eating something. So you have to be able to see during a disaster, can I fast? Because a lot of people tell me when I'm doing my workshops that, I don't fast now, but when a disaster comes, I'll be able to fast. But if you can't fast right now while you have an abundance of food, what makes you think you'll fast when you have nothing? When the stress level is high, and a lot of times when we stress, we turn to food. So
now, Sister Tequila, you've been teaching this how many years now?
I started back in 2010, but really hardcore, it started in 2018.
2018. So over the years you've seen, and has your teaching tactics changed? You've seen all these disasters hit friends and family members throughout the nation, throughout the world. How have you changed your tactics in attacking this and spreading this information?
I pretty much use the same tactics. I mean, we just kind of go with the time when things, the time changes, and again, COVID, that was an unseen event. Nobody knew COVID would hit, so you can't prepare for that. But again, if you were somewhat prepared and listening to the advice that I didn't get from myself, but I learned disaster preparedness from the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. I got into it through that, and then I went and branched out and started researching and studying different things. So again, we were somewhat prepared because, again, when it was outages, when they had shortages, we were prepared. We had enough food, we had things in bulk, we had water, because we already were told to store these things in our homes for 3 to 6 months already. So whenever it was told, okay, people would run out of tissue, I didn't panic. There was no water in the stores, I didn't panic, because I already knew that we had to be prepared for that. And so now that people saw what happened during COVID, a lot of people have been reaching out to me back to back, emailing me, showing me pictures that, I've been canning food. I bought this. I have this in my survival. Even family that I would have never, ever thought, you talk about disaster preparedness, they're going to hang up on you. As soon as you say disaster, and they're hanging up because they're like, I don't want to hear it. They feel like you're teaching doom. They don't want to hear about nothing that's going to be negative or bring sadness to them. So, now those same people are calling me, watching my posts, asking me questions, sending information like, what's happening now? What should I do? So it's very important for us to continue to spread the knowledge in this time, and not just wait until, something happens.
So, Squid, I want to get some backdrop about. I want to double back on Ahmed's question a little bit about your initial motivation to take on a subject like this. I want to get that story behind the story. I want to know your real inspiration for having this disaster ministry that you've been conducting for the last 12 years. Can you talk on that for a minute?
The initial Inspiration is really my mom. Again, with the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, because I was raised in a nation. We were always taught to prepare for a time where famine would come and pestilence would be here. So I know it was like year 2000, 1999, going into 2000. They were talking about Y2K. They were talking about the world finna end. Soon as midnight come, it's a wrap.
Right.
But even though we knew, we didn't know what to expect, So like my mom, she made sure we had everything. My mother was a mother of 4. So she made sure that we had, when I say like our basement had everything you could think of, stuff I didn't even think of, my mother had. Matches. I'm talking about the galvanized trash cans where they were full of tissue, full of matches, batteries. Everything you could think of, portable toilets. I'm like, Mom, come on. And then when nothing happened, we just had all this extra stuff. But for me, as a child back then, I felt secure knowing that if something was to happen, that we would be all right. And so really the inspiration came from my mom, but like she just did it, during that time. But ever since then, I vowed to myself as a mother to make sure I'm prepared. And I also read in like How to Eat to Live book by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad that that we would be so hungry at some point in time that we want to eat our babies. And every time I thought about that, it just made me cringe because I can't even imagine being that hungry. So for me, that was a start, making sure that I was going to have enough food and water, because I couldn't look down at my children and they're asking me for food and water and I have nothing to give them. Like, I don't see what type of mother would be able to handle just the pressure of that. Your child is crying because they're hungry. So after that, I was just like, okay, let me just, research about it. I started researching, I started studying, and then I started having workshops. When I had workshops and teaching people about, disasters and things to do to protect their family, things that you can have, basic things like water and, staple good foods, people started asking where I can buy this stuff from, where they can get this from. And then I started actually bringing things to my workshops. And that's how Ark Survival started, which is a store. And it has a symbol of the Ark because, again, we're told to, only 2 people can go on, based off the biblical story. But whoever was on there, that was it before the doors closed. That was the same. Whatever you need to have after that before the doors closed. And so now I started my store. I would bring things and I would literally sell out every time I had a workshop. Because once I spoke about these things, now people are like, okay, now where can I get this from? Okay, you said 10. Now I need to get a 10. So I just started having it. And then I realized this is a necessity. This is a need for our community because you can't really find these things. We got Amazon now, but back in the day, you could not find a lot of these things. And I was able to get them at discounted prices in bulk and wholesale. And I was able to offer that to our community.
Oh, beautiful. Let me ask you this as well, Sister Twin. Now, some of the things you was getting for disaster, do you use it? Do you practice it from time to time? The reason I ask that is because I know a brother that he stocked up. He had a nice little like disaster preparedness stock or stash. And one day the lights went out. It was completely dark. And we had no idea when the lights were going to come back on. So I guess he went to go get his generator and he didn't know how to use it. He tried to use other things to give light or to just give a little comfort. And it was a house full of people. He did not know how to use his equipment. So my question to you is, have you are the stuff that you prepare for? Do you have? Is it tried and true? And if so, if there's like some of the things that I guess the directions you can give the people that's listening as to what they can do to get themselves not only mentally ready but equipment ready.
Yes. That's the number one key with anything. You can't say you're a doctor or a nurse if you haven't really worked on any patients. You have to be able to say that something works. And again, in certain situations, it's not going to fit all. I have been out in the wilderness, I would say, like camping, but we camped for disaster preparedness purposes only. And I hated it. I'm going to be honest with you. It was not the greatest experience, but there was an experience because this is the reality of what we had to deal with. We went out there and all we had to do was live off the land. We did have tents, but that was it. Everything else we had to do with whatever equipment that we had. One of the things I experienced was bugs. I don't know if they call them chiggers or something like that. Some little tiny bugs that just bite you. like worse than mosquitoes, and be inside the tent, but somehow they're getting in there. And I mean, it was too much. We also had to deal with like rodents. There was raccoons. Raccoons. I always tell this story, but one of the it was some brothers there too. So we had sisters and brothers there. And then one of the brothers, he took a rock, he saw a raccoon and he hit it. And so, because they were coming to get our food, they kept, we kept looking up at the table and you see a raccoon on the table. So we turned around and we're sitting in our little chairs, and then we look back up and all you see is eyes all around. Like he got a posse of raccoons to come back. So things like that you don't think, and of course I have certain things like even in my kit, but again, the stuff in my kit is not going to fit every situation. The stuff that I put in my kit is just basic hygiene products. I put food products, I put water. This is if worst case scenario. For example, there was a disaster not too long ago where they were stranded on a highway for like 2 days. And imagine being on a highway and not having the things you need to go to the bathroom. It being super hot and you having not one bottle of water in your car. You know what I'm saying? You have no tissue. You don't have nothing in your vehicle. So the kits that I have are like 3 days, and they're there for that type of crisis where you'll have it in your car, or you'll have it at your job, or you'll have it somewhere where you'll have the basic necessities to make it through the next couple of days until you can figure out what to do next. And so, yes, you have to use the things that's in there. Before, when I started, I used to put like food in there that I used to buy that was the rationalized food that they would give you. And I finally opened it and tasted it, and I was like, what am I giving people? Because it was so disgusting to me. Now, I guess in their mind, they're thinking in the case of a disaster, you're just going to eat it because you're hungry. But again, you want to make sure you pinpoint what's in your disaster preparedness bag. You want to know what you like. You want to make sure you're preparing for if anybody has any medical conditions, if anybody's diabetic. You always want to have something available at that time. So when I make bags, I make them standard, but then you can add whatever you want to put into your bags. So for me, it's best that you start out by starting to get some of those disaster preparedness items. And a lot of it you can find around your house that you don't even have to purchase, and start putting a bag together to have what you need on hand.
And that, I really appreciate the question that Kobe asked, because my question was similar to that in having the equipment and going through drills. And that was a perfect scenario that you made, that the family can get together and go out on an outing, a group of family members or community, just to see and experience having to deal with your basic necessities. But is that something that's encouraged, in using your equipment and taking it out and using that as going through drills, or doing it in your home? Just, hey, we like back in the movies, you'd hear the sirens going off during war, and they're going through drills, almost like when you were in school and they had fire drills.
Yes.
We prepare our families like that on a regular basis.
Yes, that's absolutely necessary, because we don't know what to do, and you don't know. Again, we're so used to the lights going off and them coming back on in a short period of time. Right. Some of us as Black people, we live in poverty, so some of us had to live without lights for a while. So we know how to adapt and be accustomed to things like that. But again, you can turn off your breaker box and practice with no lights. Tell the children, we don't have lights today. We're going to do it for 12 hours, or do it for a whole day, just to see how everybody reacts. Because you want to know who's going to act up first, who's going to start crying, who's going to get an attitude, who's going to be stressed out. You want to make sure that you have batteries on hand. Everybody knows where to locate those batteries. You have flashlights on hand. If you have any solar lights, like, you want to make sure that not only you know what to do, but your family knows what to do. So it's very important to go ahead and practice those things. Food, where to find the food, how much you're supposed to eat in a day. Again, if you're not practicing fasting and teaching your children to be able to go without food and snacks, then how long do you think you're going to be able to do it during a real disaster? So it's best to practice, and even just push them along a little bit. Maybe start out small. I'm going to do 5 hours without giving them something, just to see how they react, and then go from there. I mean, everything, with anything, even fire drills, you should still practice those. That's part of disaster. How fast can your children get out? It's some children that you would think, okay, it's a fire, they would run outside. But a lot of children, because I did childcare as well, they would actually go hide during the fire.
Right.
They would go in the closet, they would hide under the bed. They don't think. It's like, rationale goes out the window because they're trying to, protect themselves from that heat. So if you're not openly practicing with them, or if they get cornered and they're in a room that has a window, but you don't have the safety ladder that goes out the window so that the child can go down, you didn't show them how to open the window, then they're not going to know what to do, and we're not. And I'm going to use myself for an example. I've had fire extinguishers for a long time. I've never used it until I went to my CERT training class. I never was in a fire to have to use it. And it's just that simple where he gave it to me. He said, go ahead and start it. And how long it took me to try to read the directions and instructions, figure out what to do, and then do it. But my house would be on fire by then. So yes, you have to practice. So the CERT, the community emergency response training, is 16 hours. They train you. Go ahead and use a fire extinguisher. They need to show you how to sweep it. I didn't even know that you don't, aim it at the fire, because that's what I see in the movies. You're supposed to aim it at the base of the fire.
The base, right.
Whatever's on fire, but we don't know that unless we go. And I'm an adult and I didn't know that. So everything that you do requires you to at least try it out and practice. And now some disasters you're just not going to experience until that time. But things that you can do that. Practice evacuating with your children. Practice getting in the car and saying, okay, it's an emergency. We got to go. We got 2 minutes to see how fast they can get in the car and leave and get up the road. Just try it.
Okay. So in your workshops, how surprised are people like to in depth of what's going on around them and they have no clue? Because the reason why I asked my cousin, and this was years ago, but she would say, we was teaching this subject, and she would say, I mean, what are y'all preparing for? It looked like everything okay to me, So in your workshop, do you get, those who are surprised that there are people who are preparing for a disaster, and what are some of the experiences you've had?
Yes, sir. Those are the main individuals. A lot of them will come in, like if they come to, a lot of them you see people slouching and you see people like disinterested and just like, where's this going at first. Mm-hmm. Then when you start talking, you start telling them about things. Like I was saying to somebody, like a lot of things that are happening in 2022 that we don't know about. And if you're not paying attention, for example, like supply chain issues are going on right now. Right. Driver shortages. They can't find drivers to drive certain vehicles. High transportation costs. The gas is rising. The weather is causing, food shortages, labor shortages and packaging, different things like that. Those things are causing us to not get the food that we need. Hold on one moment, ma'am. And yeah, she's gonna come in. And so when they're sitting there, they're disinterested. Then when you start telling them things and putting it into the time right now, they be like, okay, so now where can I get this stuff from? And they didn't know that you can prepare now. They didn't know that we have things on hand to help them through that. They just don't know. It's just a lack of knowledge. So when you give them that knowledge and information, a lot of them are ready to prepare.
Okay. So is there can you prepare for every disaster? Is it one preparation that can cover all disasters, or is it one for three and then it's another one for this one? Like a snowstorm, you have a tornado, you have hurricanes, you have a heat wave, you have a fire, different things, some things you can use it to go back for other, so which one, like what is the one that cover most bases,
Yes, sir. The to-go bag is the one that's going to cover the majority of the basis of everything. Okay. No, there's no possible way to be able to be prepared for all disasters. There's just no way. But you can be basically prepared. For example, your go bag, if there's a fire and you have your go bag where it needs to be, you can grab that and you may lose everything in your home. All you may have is what's in that bag at that moment. If you need to evacuate out of the city, you need to have a go bag. If you're lost somewhere, if you're stranded somewhere, that go bag is going to be what you need. It's going to have, some clothes, hygiene products, going to have some basic food, some other tools that you may need. My bag, I may put a tent in there. I put a portable radio so you can keep up with the time, and know what's going on. So yeah, and you can put your own together so you know what's in it. Put a little bit of money in there, put some documents in there, a charger for your phone, just different things that you can have for that moment. But like a disaster, I'm sorry, not disaster, but having a go bag is not for everything. It's literally to get you from point A to point B in that initial shock of a disaster. Because when things happen immediately, we're all over the place. And if you just need basic items, that is what you have in your disaster preparedness kit. It's not meant for you to survive forever. I'm on camera, baby. Give me one moment.
she ready to teach. Oh, okay. So in your book, Disaster Readiness for Children, when surviving isn't a choice.
Yes, sir.
You talk about having one. We must have plenty of water. You talk about having. Well, what is the requirement for water? If I have a family of 4, how do I decide how much water to buy?
Yes, sir. The basic requirement they say is 1 gallon per person per day.
1 gallon per person per day.
Yes.
Yes.
And again, if you have a big family, that's a whole lot of water. So you don't have to have that much. But again, it just depends on how long you are trying to survive. Do you know how to conserve water? Do you know how to purify water? Is there other ways that you can use, like purification tablets or the little straws, or just naturally purifying your water? If you drink a lot of water, does your family drink a lot of water? But you have to realize that you use water for cooking, cleaning, and sanitation. It's just not for drinking. And so we don't realize how much water we use in a day. A lot of us may use 50 gallons just taking a shower every day. So the bare minimum is just having that. And I say that because I know that a lot of us do not have a lot of water on hand. And if we go back to Flint and what they had to go through, a lot of people really struggled through that, not having enough water to survive, and couldn't get it from any local stores or any even local cities. They had to literally travel to find water. And so just to get, again, through the initial shock of disaster, if you wake up and they say the water is contaminated, you won't be able to get water. How many people are going to run out to the store and try to get as much water as they can? But by the time you get out there, somebody already beat you to the time, or the line is already wrapped around the building because everybody's thinking the same thing. So you want to be prepared already, where you have enough water, but if you can get more, you can get more. But initially you have enough in the beginning to get through if you can't find water.
Now we're talking about preparing and to-go bags. Let's jump into a little bit of this planting and canning. So we are setting up our gardens. We always taught you that we should grow our own food. Is there a way to start a garden on the outside, but is there a way to grow food on the inside of your home?
Yes, sir. The same way you grow on the outside, you can grow on the inside. You just have to make sure you have enough lighting, and make sure you research whatever vegetable or fruit or herb that you are growing. You can use basic buckets. You can use storage bins. You can use egg cartons. You can pretty much use anything, and just start out with the potting soil and your seeds, and just kind of start researching and understanding how life works. How growing and gardening works. I think I sent him a picture. I'm not sure if he received it, of like my children planting their own vegetable, and everybody planted their own, and we're going to see how it grows. And we're going to be able to barter with one another. We're practicing that now. And they put their plants together. They started out drilling the holes in the bottom of the buckets, putting their soil in the buckets, and putting their seeds in the buckets, and the plant starting to grow. And so those are things that you should be able to do with your family, which would be fun, and just be able to see how something grows. So if we're taught to keep food in our homes for 3 to 6 months, after 3 to 6 months, you're able to grow something. It may take a couple of months to have some. So you may have enough food in your home to last 3 months. But then if you have that plant growing now you have food to carry you over after those 3 to 6 months.
Right.
And some of that food you're able to can and preserve, and some of it you're not able to.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's a lot of food that you're able to can, like especially a lot of your vegetables and fruit. And we are taught right now to can because even the supplies are going up right now. Jars are very expensive. Sometimes you can't find them. So now's a good time to take that food that you garden, especially if you're not able to eat a lot of it, and go ahead and can it. And you can look up, it's a sister named Sister Colette here in the Nation of Islam who does canning. And so you can follow her. I believe it's Canning with Colette. And she teaches you the fundamental principles of how to can. And it's very important to make sure you have enough jars of food for your family where you're not able to go to the store and just get those commercially jarred food or those commercially canned food. You want to have what you need in your home.
Let me ask you a question, Sister Tequila. We've been talking disaster for a long time. For some reason, it's like I've been to several classes. The attendance is low when I go to these classes. It's like everybody hear the disaster talk, but ain't nobody necessarily responding to the disaster talk.
Right.
What do you say to that? I mean, what's your attitude toward that? One, how do you feel that what can we do to I guess light a fire up on the people to really take this subject serious?
You're already doing it on the show by hosting individuals who speak about disaster preparedness and just putting it in the light. Because a lot of people are thinking about it, but again, like you said, they don't really want to talk about it, or they don't think that it's going to get that bad. They think at some point things will get better, that the prices are going to go back down. Just like COVID will be over. But even though COVID's over, we have a whole bunch of things that we have to do right now. I had looked up the percentage of inflation in the last couple of years. And before COVID, it was low. Now from last year, it was 4.7% inflation. And already this year is 8.5% already. Everything is going up. And so when people are starting to see it with their pockets when they go in the store. So now they're interested in knowing, okay, at this point, how can I save money? How can I stock up more food in my house because everything's going up? So the more you keep talking about it, people will get it. Some people, they're just never going to get it until it's just too late. And you can't worry about those individuals. But the ones that you can help, and like I said, I've been teaching about this for years, and there's some people that completely ignored me for the first few years. But those same people have reached back out to me and have asked me questions, have sent me emails, and have showed me their supplies. I've been stocking up. I got tissue to last me for the next year. I got water to last me. How do I store this properly? How do I do that? So trust me, they may not say it out in the open, but it's definitely questions being asked about how to stock and store and what I need to have, because they actually can see now what's taking place in this day.
So, Sister Tequila, I was looking at the list you have in your book, with your to-go bag, and I wanted to talk about some of the ingredients and just So, why Pedialyte?
Yes, Pedialyte is just for severe dehydration, not just children, but adults as well. So it's just it has electrolytes and things in it that if you're outside for a long period of time, let's say it's super hot, because heat is also a disaster. A lot of people had heat strokes. We got to go back to Hurricane Katrina, and those people were sitting in that dome and they didn't have they didn't have nothing to drink. You're talking about diabetics, you're talking about children that have went a day, and 2 days without water or drinks. So you want to make sure you have certain things in your kit for dehydration. So that's why I put it in there.
Okay. What
for these children?
Absolutely. What about a satellite phone?
A satellite phone, because again, we already know all communication is going to be down. So anything that you can do with satellite or solar powered or solar panels, you want to make sure that you put a lot of those things, in your kits. And some of the things I'm going to show you here that I do have, just because you mentioned that, is a charger that's solar powered. So this is one of the things that I do sell. And this is a solar powered charger where you can actually just lay the phones on there and charge.
Really?
You also can plug it
Wow.
in with the USB port. I'm not sure if I'm showing it right. And be
Yeah.
able to charge your phone. So imagine you left out the house, you thought you were going to come back home to get your charger, and you were stranded somewhere, you couldn't get back home. You have a phone that's at 1% juice, and you're stuck somewhere. You can't, you don't have a way to contact anybody. So having this means if it's sunny outside, you set this in the sun and it charges like that, and it'll charge your phone or your electronics and devices. So you definitely want to have it. And it's also like the portable crank radios where these don't need batteries, but it cranks. So you'll open it up and you'll turn it, and it has a flashlight on one end, and it has an actual portable radio on another one. So if you want to know what's happening, you might be somewhere and not know what's going on. You might be out jogging, and then the news may say it's a tornado coming. You have no clue what's going on, and then you're stranded in a park somewhere. This is what you need, and it's solar powered as well on the top, so that everything that you can still use and still be available for you in the case of you not having batteries or a way to plug it up. So those are the type of things you want to make sure you have, around in your car or in your basic kits.
Then you also say cane sugar, and you say it can also be used as an antiseptic.
Mm-hmm.
In what way?
Like I guess with your mouth, like being able to rinse things out, being able to I forgot exactly why I said that, but give me a second and I'll give you that information. But more so just for your mouth and like wounds and different things like that, it helps with that.
Oh, so you can wash your mouth out with cane sugar and it okay, absolutely.
Almost like a peroxide type of use.
Yeah. There's no running water, especially.
Exactly.
Oh, okay.
And then it helps with other things as well. Like I said, for you to use, like I said, if you have diabetes, again, they have to have sugar. A lot of times, we don't think about different things like that. Like I keep those little packs just in the car because you just never know. They have the honey straws as well too.
Now you got on here something that we go over in junior FOI class, and that's rope. And Brother Kawi himself teach that class of civilization where we teaching, different knots. And it definitely it was my experience at work one day. We was something came loose on the truck, and this white guy came over there. He tied this knot, man. I'm talking about this knot was, it was like perfect. I'm like, damn, I should have went to the damn Boy Scouts, man. I don't know. And so I suggested to Brother Kawi, man, we need to learn about knots. And Brother Kawi said, man, I know how to tie some knots, man. And Brother Kawi went at it, and he's teaching a wonderful class. So how important, man, is, knowing how to handle rope? Are you familiar with it yourself? What have been your experience with that?
Basic tying, and then I have a book on that too, where it shows you, like you said, how to tie different knots and what those knots are used for. It's definitely important because I've seen people having to pull cars, and they have to tie it in a way where they were able to grab the rope. You may have to make a tent or sleep outside or something like that, and so you definitely need to have rope that can be able to withstand. If you're outside and the weather is going crazy, you need to be able to make sure your tent stays. And if you don't know how to tie that tent properly, then you may not have a place to sleep that night. So it's definitely, that's why I said a lot of these things you want to research yourself and look up and study, because it's one thing, like you said, to have rope, but then you don't know how to use it or tie it. So you definitely want to have, different books that you look up. Like I said, when you asked about the cane sugar, just being able to look up different information, because it's just very important that we know, how to use it. Because I can put a million things inside of the bags and go bags, but if you don't know how to use it,
that's right.
What it's for, And I know when I put things in the bag, I don't break down all the uses for every device, because some things can be used for multiple devices. It just depends on your situation. You know what I'm saying? You may be somewhere where you can use something in here. It might be a nail clipper. You might use it for something else. You might use it for cutting something. So, you just have to know that, multiple things have multiple uses, but then research different ways that you can use these individual items.
Now, I did get an item on the list one time. I don't know if you may know about it, but a person put kitty litter on the list of something you can have as a disaster item. Is it? Do you know anything about the kitty litter? I got a bag.
That should be on that list too in that book. But yeah, definitely, it's used for oil spills. It's used for blood. It's also used for you to use the bathroom if you have to go. You have to make your own porta potty. You know, if you got stranded somewhere and you weren't able to use the bathroom, that's what kitty litter is for cats, to kind of keep down the smell. Bloodborne pathogens, keeping blood to a minimum. You know, if you see something like that, you pour kitty litter on it. You know, I mean, it's just multiple uses for it, but it's definitely imperative to have some in your kit. And I definitely have some while it's inexpensive.
And I've been in a disaster. I'm from Florida, and in what was that, 2004, we had 4 hurricanes in 1 year, and you know, I was stranded. We was actually stranded for 2 weeks. We couldn't travel the city. I couldn't get to my children. We couldn't really travel the city because the power lines were down everywhere. And you drive at night, you driving over live power lines. But I was stranded in a place where we didn't have lights, but we had gas, natural gas, so we was able to cook.
Yes.
You know, and that was beautiful. But I didn't even know because in Florida, didn't many houses have natural gas.
Right.
It's mostly electric. So I didn't even know that when your power go out, that the gas still flowing. You know what I mean? So these are certain things that, you know, you learn during a disaster. And you know, and have any of you all been in a disaster before?
I mean,
yes, I have.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I thought you were just asking.
Yeah, I am. I'm asking any of you all.
Well, I haven't been in a disaster, man, but when I did serve in the Marine Corps, and the toughest assignment they gave us, it was a compass reading class to read a compass, and they put us in, like, you teamed up with 2 people, you put them in the woods, and they got certain checkpoints throughout like a 25-mile radius that you must hit with using the compass and a map, and they expect you to get through this within 2 days. After a week, they come looking for you. So I didn't get through there in the 2 days, and they don't really expect you to. They know when it's your first time, like, doing this training, unless you have prior training with a compass, then you can get through it. But if you don't have prior training, you're not going to make the 2 days. So after the second day, you know, we had the food supply that's gone. You know, we had since it's 2 of us, we have what's called a shelter half, which is half of a tent. And I have a person with me, he has the other half of the tent. So that makes the whole tent, what we call the shelter half, and canteens, and we had to figure it out, man. I mean, it was no food. It was the water was gone. And so it wasn't a disaster that was like a Katrina.
Right.
But it was a situation in which you had to know how to survive. And I mean, we did a terrible job of it. At some point we just started walking straight and we didn't make no turns, we didn't read no maps, and we got to the end. We got out the forest. But man, you know, this class right here just reminds me. I call this a class, actually, I don't call it a class, because we just don't know at what point where a disaster is going to hit us, and it's not going to be prepared. That's why we get insurance. That's why we get life insurance, auto insurance, because we just don't know when a disaster is going to take place, accident, and you just want to be like equipped to deal with it on all levels, mentally, especially.
Yes.
You want to know the application of it. So that's what I got as far as an experience with a disaster case.
Yeah.
Now, I wanted to. I wasn't in a disaster per se either, but I was stuck. And this is the next question that I wanted to segue into, Sister Tequila, after you talk about your disaster experience. But I was stuck on the highway in
Atlanta.
In Atlanta, twice when they had the ice storm. And
The 2 inch. Wait a minute. Are you from New York, right?
Yes, sir.
And them 2 inches.
Yeah, I got stuck. Couldn't even drive. But
yes, sir.
I used my New York skill and integrity, and I got through. No, but that was my next question, because like Brother Kawi said, you don't know when the disaster is going to hit. And I heard you speak about in some of your training to have not only disaster kit at home, but you should always have an extension in your car, because you never know when it's going to hit. But that's the next question after you speak about your disaster experience.
Yes, well, we just had one maybe last year, I think, yeah, early 2021 or something like that, but we didn't have power for like 4 days. And I didn't live in the house. That house I was living in did not have gas stove. The house I live in now has gas stove. So we've had power outages here, and we were able to still cook, boil water. It's like nothing stopped. But then when you're in a home where you don't have any of that, but we still function. It wasn't really, I literally was so calm through it. It wasn't that bad. I'm from up north Cleveland, so I'm used to the snow, and I have been in cars where I was stranded in a blizzard before. And I didn't have as much stuff in my car, but I wasn't prepared. So that was one of the things that made me say, make sure you have something in your car. Because back then, I mean, I was freezing. I think my car cut off. I didn't realize that nothing worked, like the battery had went off or something. So I couldn't roll like the window up. It was just a lot going on at that time. And it makes you think, like, when you're in that situation, what do you need to prepare? And imagine your car cutting off in the dead of winter and not being able to start, so I definitely understand.
Yes, ma'am. Oh, so okay, you just spoke about
and just having that in the car. Yeah, I just wanted to add that into it. Having that kit in the car. Again, you may not be able to go back home. You may be out and something may happen to your house. What you have in your car is all that you may have. You may be at work. You may be driving somewhere, again, like you said, brother, stranded somewhere for 2 weeks and not able to leave your state or city. What you have in that bag is basically going to be your lifeline.
If you didn't finish that story, Sister Tequila, the windows didn't roll up, the car couldn't cut on.
No, it was cracked. It was cracked, but it was cold outside. It was like freezing. So, I didn't know that when the battery goes out that you couldn't roll the window up in those electric cars. So I was just going.
What was the result?
Now I keep a wool blanket now in my car now. So if you know what
how did you survive that though? How did you survive that?
Somebody came and got me eventually, but for a while I was frozen, like my feet, my hands, just how you do, you doing this, trying to keep your hands warm, walking and different things, but it was an experience, it was definitely an experience.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, that's something that we definitely have to focus on. Oh, we wanted to talk a little bit about the preparing the family for this disasters mentally, having soothing music, having board games, having things in the house to keep the children and the family occupied. What part of the kit is that?
Yes, sir. I mean, that's overall. That part actually starts now, before the disaster. I wrote a quick little list down, and I just wanted to read it real quick because I know we don't have a lot of time. But some of the things you can do now is, again, learn about gardening and start a community where you all have at least one vegetable or two, where if something happened in your community, you all can barter those vegetables. So for example, 4 people on your street that are your neighbors, you're planting cucumbers and zucchini. The neighbor's planting squash and tomatoes. The other one's planting cabbage. Somebody's planting watermelon. And then if something happened, you all can barter those things where you're not, or you can can it up and you can sell it. You have the ability to barter, make money, and just have all the things that you need. Another thing is purchase your food in bulk right now. I know they always talk about hoarding and not having too much food. Again, you want to prepare for your family. So certain things that people don't think about is, like I said before, trash bags. You need trash bags during a disaster for all type of things. Right. You need detergent and washing powder. So while the prices are going up, go ahead and get it now and stock it in bulk. I mean, buy it in bulk. For example, like dishwashing liquid, I'll go get a case of 12, at one time. Or you can go to Costco's or Sam's Club and get the big bottles of it and see how much you use, and then buy enough to last you for the next couple of months so that you'll be prepared. Just like the formula shortage, you know, a lot of people didn't ever think that would happen. So they may have just enough formula for that child for just a day or two, or maybe even a week, to have enough for a couple of months in case of something happened.
Breastfeed.
Yeah. Get supplies while they last. Learn to eat 1 meal a day, because that helps you to save money on food and supplies. Eliminate unnecessary spending and expenses. If you can cut anything and everything out at this time, do that, because everything is increasing. 2 more things. Have a savings at home. Make sure you have money at home. Make sure you're putting as much money up as you can.
Cash.
Savings for at least a couple of, exactly, that too.
We need cash.
Cash.
We need cash.
In your home.
Yeah.
Because I tell people, I don't care if you have $1 million on a card. If you go to the store right now, Costco's, and they say our card machine down.
Right.
We're not taking EBT. We're not taking credit. We're not taking debit. We're not taking checks. Only thing we're taking is cash. People don't use cash no more. Most people do not have cash on hand.
Right.
So you definitely, and you want to have it in different denominations, because you give a person $100 and they see that you got more money, you're gonna get robbed walking out the store.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? Seriously.
All right.
So you have that. Yes, sir.
No, I'm sorry. I was going to say, Brother Kyle, we were going to go ahead and go to commercial, and then we'll come back and talk about suicide and mental health aspect.
Yes, sir.
Oh, yes, sir. So again, thank you for tuning in to the Jock Brothers Presents. Let Us Make Man. Of course, this show right here is in lieu to the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan birth anniversary prayer that he gave to all of us.
Yes.
He said the time is going to get dark. Everybody got their own idea as to what that darkness entail, but it was imperative. It was incumbent on us to have a show that talked about disaster preparedness. And again, there's several ways you could talk about disaster preparedness, and Sister Tequila is doing a massive job of talking about it. So thank you for tuning in. Please share the show.
Praise
And continue to support the Jock Brothers as we bring you new shows every week, touching on various subjects that absolutely need to be talked about, that absolutely need to be discussed. Now, to support the Jock Brothers platform, please Cash App us. Our Cash App information is $Jock Bros, $JAKQBROS. And again, we have a prison initiative that we launched about 7, maybe 8 months ago that's constantly growing. And the Final Call newspaper, I had no idea it was so desired behind the bars, but it is desired. And thanks to those that have supported us previously, man, it's just an honor and a pleasure for us to have such an initiative where we can supply the Final Call paper behind to our brothers that's incarcerated, our guards that's incarcerated. It keep the peace in the facilities and where they at. It keep them growing mentally, and it, of course, keep them growing spiritually as they feed on the words of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad and the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. Let's keep in mind our brother, our great brother Ahmed. He's now author. You can put that now. Honestly, though, national traveler. We recently put world traveler on his resume, but now we can put author on his resume. For our brother is into writing children books that deals with issues that our youth deal with every day. And they with his books though, they have somebody they can identify with. They don't have to look at Charlie Brown to learn. They don't have to look at Green Eggs and Ham, Dr. Seuss books. They can look at Brother Ahmed books, and we're going to start running commercials on his books. It touch on all kinds of subjects, bullying. Hopefully he'll be doing a book real soon on disaster preparedness so that a child can understand and they can start assisting and helping their parents get ready for these disasters. And of course, our sister Tequila, she has a book as well. This is her book, Disaster Readiness for Children. As you can see, the importance of the children getting involved with this as well. It just makes it so much easier when the children are mentally prepared as well to deal with disasters. It's one thing to be an adult prepared for disasters, and you can handle it. But when you have a crying child that don't know why my phone is not working, why this light switch when the lights usually come on and it don't now, when they start panicking, even the most sound-minded of us can break down and have some mental issues that even though they're prepared now, they just lost it because their child can't get comfortable. And so I hope that's a good segue into what Brother Jackie was he wanted to get into the mental aspect of disaster preparedness. But once again, please support the Jock Brothers platform. We got a lot coming your way. Once again, $ JAKQBROS. Thank you. Back to you, Brother Jackie.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right. So, Sister Tequila, we were speaking the other day talking about the mental aspect, mental preparedness. What if any, is there any exercise mentally that we can do to prepare ourselves? Now, I do want to say that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad in How to Eat to Live says that fasting strengthens the nerves. So I'm wondering, is there any type of exercise, mental, exercises that we can do to strengthen ourselves in preparation for a disaster?
Yes, sir. Praise be to Allah. We were offered a tool called Dianetics. If you don't know what that is, I suggest that you go ahead and look it up. It's basically a tool that's used to help, mental illness, post-traumatic stress disorder, depression, a lot of things that we're dealing with, just regular stress, just being Black in America every day, that's stress. That's the main tool, I would say, but also therapy, talking to individuals, journaling, writing things down that are bothering you. I would say meditation, being able to sit and just do nothing but breathe, listen to your breathing and just be in the present moment. Those are the main things I can think of, because whenever a disaster does happen, you will have post-traumatic stress disorder, especially if a loved one was affected, if someone passed away during that time. Again, like you said, if you lose all your belongings, you don't have anything. How does that make a person feel when they've lived in this home for 20, 30, 40 years and then their home is gone? I watch a lot of shows on disaster preparedness, a lot of documentaries of people who have went home or have been in the face of a real tornado that literally demolished their home and family. And they were able to get through it, but they did have to go through a lot of psychotherapy, talking and writing and journaling. So I would definitely use those things as tools. And like you said, fasting now to strengthen ourselves during that time, because a lot of the things that we don't know what we're going to face in that hour. And some things are going to be so shocking that we may not even mentally be able to pull ourselves out of it. But you want to have everyone around you that know what to do, in that case as well. And again, the tools I would say is Dianetics. And it's such a big, branch with Dianetics. You really have to study it and get into it to really know how to use the tool to be able to help each other during that time.
Go ahead, Brother Ahmed.
And well, basically what Brother Jackie was saying, the mental aspect of it, of being prepared. How does one prepare to start preparing for that mental shock of the hour?
Yeah, like I was mentioning earlier, a lot of it just starts now, like just pretty much starting to prepare yourself. For me, what works for me is watching things that have to do with disaster preparedness. So like I said, I watch a lot of documentaries and see what people had to face right on. I watch a lot of disasters, like even things that are major, like tsunamis. It was one in Japan that took place, and as I was seeing it, I just couldn't even believe it. I mean, it literally wiped out a city within seconds, minutes. Right. And the people afterwards was just like zombies. They were so in shock that this happened like that. So you just have to put yourself mentally in that mind, because a lot of us can't even imagine things happening like that. So that would be the first, is watching things, studying, researching a lot of information online, how to prepare for things, how to survive, how to snap out of shock, how to snap out of Like a mental breakdown that you're having, how to help someone else that's going through it. You know what I'm saying? During that time, you only can do so much, but first is again starting to help yourself, making sure you're okay, so that you're able to help others. Reading, studying, again, doing a lot of prayer, to strengthen yourself during this time, and making sure that you know that God is the best knower. So everything that happens is happening by his active and permissive will. And I know we hate to hear that, but that's a reality, and we have to be accepting to that. He said, we're told if you didn't want to die, then you should have never been born. So we all have to die.
Right.
Reality, But again, being able to survive as long as possible, since we don't know what's on the other side, that's our ultimate goal.
Right. And that's one thing I was thinking about, just what you just said, that we don't know what's on the other side. So to have a positive outlook, when we mentor our young brothers, we always give them to look at that they're the future, that they shoulder the future on their shoulders. So when we're going through disasters, we're looking at building a new world. Mm-hmm. We're looking at one world coming down. This is what we're taught, and one world coming up. So in a disaster, just a positive way to look at it, that the enemy's world is coming down and the righteous world is coming up, and we're building. So even though we just have the basic necessities and we're surviving through whatever we're going through, but we should be looking towards how we're going to build this new nation.
That's right.
That's always the way I look at it.
Yes, sir.
Have you experienced with suicide? Have you heard anything of people not being able to cope with the different stress? Just use suicide as the tactic of getting out of the situation. I mean, has that come up?
I actually had somebody really, really, really close to me that actually attempted to do that not too long ago, maybe last month or month after. So yeah, that's very devastating. And our biggest thing was not knowing if they would try to do that again, and the situation, not being able to deal with it. So in a disaster, that's going to be inevitable. I would just say that, because there's going to be so many people that's going to be so devastated that they can't see the future. We try to keep you in present time, like I said, with Dianetics, we try to keep them here and focus on the moment. But when you start to think about, the future, I'm not going to have this and that, it happens. And the person that tried that was the same thing. And it was something that, of course, we didn't think was a big deal, but they weren't able to cope with their reality at the moment. And, we talk to them all the time and try to encourage them, but then you really don't know, how far a person is. The biggest thing is continuing to encourage each other, getting rid of negativity, being as positive as possible to one another. I tell people that all the time. Like, even if it's just a smile, you can go to a job and somebody's having a bad day. Don't try to have a bad day with them because they're having a bad day. You never know if they're on the brink of saying, when I leave this job, I'm about to go kill myself. So it's up to us to give a positive word, a smile, some inspiration, some motivation to someone else. A note, give gestures, always giving, pay for somebody's gas, pay for somebody's meal. Just certain things that you can do at the time to continue to talk and encourage one another. Because a lot of times in this hour, we're so hostile with one another. We're so mean and so negative that if a person is on the brink of that, that'll send them over the edge.
Right.
So.
What I say to that, my son, for whatever reason, he got the kindest heart I've ever had of any young person, and he always go broke whenever he see homeless people. And so what we did one day, we went down to the bridge because he saw him living in tents. He was like, "Dad, I really want to see what's going on over there on that bridge." So I parked the car and we walked over to the bridge. And if you really want to learn how to survive, if you really want to know some survival tactics, go over to the bridge to the homeless people. They are the most resilient people that you will ever meet in your life. So surviving disasters is almost like an innate thing with our people. We have always lived in the worst
That's right.
circumstances and conditions.
Yes.
we have a natural ability to just survive. And if you want to see it on the most primitive levels, go see homeless people, and then you'll learn survive. You'll learn how to use a generator, or how to use a tent, tie ropes, knots.
Right.
And they're so willing to
Absolutely.
get the information to you.
Yeah.
You know, they're so willing to get the information to you. So I thank my son for having such a kind, tender heart like that, because a lot of us, we so quick to just walk past him. But I might give him $20, and by the time we leave a group of homeless people, he's broke. But I know Allah gonna bless him for having a heart like that. So I just want to throw that in there, because disaster preparedness we're not that far away from having it. We just need a couple of items here and there, and that's us having a list of things to get. Imagine they don't even have a list. They're living completely off of whatever resources that's around them, and they've been living for years.
They're minimalists. Yeah, they're minimalists. When you talk to them, they tell you that they don't want to move into a house. They have what they need, and that's us. We have so much, and a lot of us are not even grateful, for what we have. And I remember Minister Louis Farrakhan said that if we fall into depression, that means that we are ungrateful. And so that's a mental illness. So the reason why you're depressed is because you're ungrateful for the things that Allah already gave you. You have life, you can breathe, you can think. And so we have to put people's mind like that. And I did the same thing. I would take my children to homeless, to the park and feed the homeless, or we used to participate in volunteering at the homeless shelter and things like that. So I wanted them to see you complain one time. This is what they have to deal with. I used to threaten my children, I'm gonna drop you off here and you can spend the night, because there's no need to complain at home when you have everything that you need. And some of them, they're mentally checked out because they have been so long without the things that they need, just basic care, and they're still smiling. They still have positive attitudes. They still are happy. I said, you should not, you should be grateful for what you have. So I definitely bear witness to that.
Well, one question it goes back to disaster preparedness. I want to ask is, how important is it to teach your neighbors, to teach your neighbors disaster management or disaster preparedness? Because one of the examples that I read, it said, what if you have a to-go bag, but it floats away in a flood, or it's blown away in a tornado or a hurricane?
Absolutely.
And, and all you have now is your neighbors, so how important is it to share what you're learning now with those of you who are out in Jock Nation, what you're learning? How important is it for us to reach out to our neighbors and share what we're learning?
Yes, sir. And we were taught that too. You definitely want to make sure your neighbors not only know you and feel comfortable with you, but you're teaching them and showing them what they need to prepare. Because again, you might need them. You may need to give them a place to stay, or they may need to give you a place to stay. Because there actually was a sister who had all type of things in her home, fully prepared for a disaster, and a disaster hit her house and took everything away. She had absolutely nothing. And she was like preparing for years. So that is a possibility. But like you said, when you take care of your family, your neighbors and friends, they'll take care of you. And that's how I look at it. So yeah, you should take time to speak to them and be friendly to them, and again, offer them different things and tell them, because them storing up a lot of things in their house, they may be storing it up in their houses that you're telling them to store up for you.
Yeah.
It may be for you in the near future. So you want to make sure they know. And I mean, some neighbors, they don't want to deal with you, and that's going to be the one that's going to be looking at your stuff. But if you do not prepare your neighbors, they're coming for your stuff. Trust me. Because if they ain't seen you come outside your house in a while, and they're going to suspect something, and either they're going to feel like you and they're dead and they still going to come and get your stuff, or you alive and they're going to come in there and take your stuff and find it. So if you show them your personality and help them to prepare for what they need, then you probably stand a better chance in surviving in your own community. You
know what? You can look at it another way too. You can tell them how to prepare for disaster, and they blow you off, right? A disaster take place, and they looking for something to eat, and they say, you know what? He tried to tell me he might have done it himself. Let me go over there and see if I can get something.
They may think that, but then like for me, I used to So I used to put like a flyer in the final call and would give it to them. So they don't know that it's directly from me. They think that that's part of the final call. So you just put it on, put a little flyer on top of it and just, give it to them so that they kind of are aware at the time if you feel comfortable doing that.
And I know we're jumping around, but that one thing I wanted to jump on was cleaning, the cleaning aspect. I know you teach about cleaning your clothes. I know, like in the movie, what's that movie with Denzel Washington?
I don't know. He got a lot of movies.
Say it again.
He was at the end of the world. Book of Eli.
Okay.
They use alcohol pads to clean themselves, in certain areas.
Yeah.
But I know you taught about cleaning and cleaning your clothes. The purpose of cleanliness, because not being clean can also lead to medical issues and mental issues. Yeah. So what do you say towards that?
I mean, that's a good example, the Book of Eli, because they were bartering those
shampoo. They bartering shampoo.
That was like heaven.
Alcohol pads.
You can get food if you have that, because it's a mental thing too. Because imagine you walking around and you haven't took a shower in 2-3 weeks.
Woo.
And, and I mean, some people, they're used to taking 1 and 2 showers a day. Right. So you not being able to take a shower 2 weeks, mentally, that's going to do something to you. So it's very important. That's why I said in that bag, you want to make sure you have hygiene products. That's very important to have in there. Deodorant, soap, definitely. And you want to have a change of clothes, because imagine you don't have a set of clothes. You got to wear that same pair of clothes for 2 weeks. You sleeping outside, your stuff is dirty, now you have a smell, and then all type of other things, infections and all type of things come from that. So that is that's very important, but it's more so important for your mental, because that can drive you crazy. It's just little small things, even for your children. You got a baby, you haven't stored diapers up, and you got one diaper, and they trying to stretch that to its capacity. That'll make a person uncomfortable with no soap and different things like that. So again, that's why I was saying buy those things in bulk, because to me, like the formula shortage, that is basically an example of what's to come. That's a major thing, to not be able to feed your children. So what we haven't is other things are going to fall off the shelf and we won't be able to find them, or the prices are going to increase. And right now I'm seeing the prices increase and the packaging gets smaller. So you're not even getting value for your money nowadays. The dollar is gone.
Falling. The dollar is falling.
It's gone. Right. You can't find anything. I've been looking for a car for the longest, and I can't even believe I said cars literally have doubled. They're selling 2010s for like $20,000, 2002s and 2003s, because the prices of everything is going up. So,
So the dollar has fallen. So praise be to Allah, Jock Nation. Jock Nation, you heard it here. And we definitely need to prepare ourselves for the disaster that is headed our way. We have been warned by the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. We cannot say we didn't know. All right. So Sister Tequila, we are closing out. If you'd like to give Jock Nation some words of comfort, some words of wisdom, some words of a to-do list.
Yes, sir. All praise to Allah. Again, thank you for allowing me to be on the show.
Thank you for coming.
The thing is following the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan's words and his guidance and his time. It's very imperative that we go back and listen to these lectures. One in particular is the time of what must be done, the series. Go back and listen to that, the criterion. Just go back and listen to these lectures, because he's given us fundamental information in this time. And don't take for granted preparing yourself and your family now. Do not take that for granted. If it's things that you can get and purchase in your homes, go ahead and purchase it. Is it somebody you can give that information to and forward it to? Continue to do that. Follow me on Instagram. I'm under Divine by Nature 1 or Ark Survival Surplus. And you can go to my website as well at www.arksurvivalsurplus.com. And if you have any questions, feel free to inbox your sister. I definitely will inbox you back if I get your message. And again, thank you so much. And again, thank you to the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and our Southern Regional Minister, Abdul Sharif Muhammad. I'm grateful to be on the show. Thank you.
Praise be to Allah. Thank you for coming. Praise. All right, Brother Kawi.
Oh well. So, Sister Quill, I really appreciate you coming to the show and just and cracking atoms the way that you crack these atoms. It just it's so many different ways you could have took this show in terms of giving up giving us information for disaster preparedness. But I think you put it in an easy, digestible way for us to at least get moving on something. Just get the ball rolling. And so again, you've been doing this quite a long time. I know you're seriously passionate about saving lives.
Yes, sir.
And you know, again, I said it before to other people that's passionate about whatever endeavor they're on. But you know, Allah knows best where to put His message, and He put this message in you, and you are not sitting on it. And I like the way I like the way you move out. Now, I didn't get a chance to see your husband on the show.
Yeah.
I know
He has the
I know
baby.
he's smart. He has the baby.
Yes.
Okay, well,
I
praise
definitely
be
wanted
to
him
God.
to be on it. I don't know if he's still watching. I think he has the baby.
Yeah,
So.
he was your biggest fan in the beginning of the show, man.
Oh yeah.
He was blowing up
Okay,
the
he's always
airwaves.
like that.
So now give my brother the greetings.
Yes.
And thank you once again for gracing us with your presence. Assalamu alaikum.
Yes, sir. Walaikum salam. All praise due to Allah.
Yes, ma'am. Brother Ahmed.
Yes, sir. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. In the Quran, it says, "O people, keep your duty to your Lord. Surely the shock of the hour is a grievous thing." And I'd like to thank you, Sister Quayla, for joining us to allow us to spread this message. The great thing about the YouTube and the internet and these platforms that we're able to show it, record it, our people will be able to see it over and over again. Even when they go through things, you have your Instagram, Facebook, and your website that they're able to go on and see these things, even if they didn't listen. And then they go through something, or their family goes through something, that they can say, "Hey, let me go back and check what Sister said, because now it's serious." So I implore all those watching, Cash App Sister, support her channel, support her mission, because she's doing the work that some of us are not doing. So let's empower her. Let's support her so she can do more research and help us and educate us in being prepared for the shock of the hour and these days to come. Again, we thank you, Sister Quayla, for all the hard work you're doing. We thank you for being inspired by the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, Honorable Ms. Luz Farrakhan, and our regional minister, Brother Abdul Sharif Muhammad. Please keep up and continue to work. We'll definitely be calling on you constantly, because this is a message that must be heard and must be given to our generation now, generation later, and our children's children. Thank you so much.
All praise due to Allah.
Praise be to Allah. All right, Jock Nation. All of our excuses have been eliminated. We cannot say we didn't know. We need to properly prepare ourselves for disaster. I mean, you cannot do it 100%, but 0% counts for nothing. So let us put together a to-go bag, prepare our families, have fire drills, have disaster drills, whatever it takes for us to be prepared. Let us get in the best shape. As our sister has described, we must get in the best mental shape, the best spiritual shape, and the best physical shape that we can be in. We want to make sure we can at least not even just run a mile, walk a mile. So we definitely want to prepare ourselves. Let us support our sister. Let's get the disaster readiness for children when surviving isn't a choice. When surviving isn't a choice. So let us get ourselves prepared. I watch those movies, Purge. These white boys like making these kind of movies where they could just go and just kill everybody in the neighborhood for whatever reason.
That's
They
right.
like making these. So if it's in their mind, we want to be prepared. And if it's a disaster, that's the opportune time, because the police are busy. Emergency are busy, so people want to do strange things. So let us get ourselves together and let us not take this for granted. No mystery, God. Let us get ourselves together, and then we can win. And we can win. I mean, we'll be successful by Allah's grace and mercy. He will cover us. So thank you, Sister Tequila. Thank you, Jock Nation.
But Jackie, since we mentioned the book, I just wanted to show my book real quick. I know they were that we mentioned it once or twice, but
yes, sir.
Oh yes.
Lal and the Bullies. Let us support our brother Ahmed B.I. B.I. Publishing. He has his own publishing company.
Oh wow.
Where your picture at, brother? The picture that I like with the ascot, brother. Where's the picture? Okay. So look, let us support our brother. We support our sister. They're both renowned authors. You know, they're going on tour soon. We'll have the tour date listed on the website. So inshallah, you know, support, man. Let's do the work. Now, let us remind you, our sister has 6 children. She is making no excuse.
Oh no, you off count, brother Jackie.
Sir,
I have 7. I just
brother.
Yeah.
I said 6, but that was in the book. That was the article. But I have 7.
Yes, ma'am. Our daughter, my niece.
She's almost 60.
My niece. That's right.
Yes.
So that's what it is, brother. Look, let us support. Our sister makes no excuses. Brothers, we can't make no excuses. We didn't know, you know. So look, let's go ahead and make it happen. So, all right, brother Ahmed, take us out. Thank you, Jock Nation. Another one.